Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. Is this the best ultralight backpacking quilt on the market? Let's find out. All right friends, hey, just want to first say thank you so much for being here. I appreciate any view that I am getting at this point in time, and I will always be appreciative of any view that I get, whether you're a subscriber, whether you're here for the first time. Thanks for being here or welcome back. So let's get into the video here and the review of the Enlightened Equipment Enigma Ultralight Backpacking Quilt. I am on a personal mission to find the best night's sleep on the trail and in the backcountry as possible. One of the big game changers for me was switching from a sleeping bag to a backpacking quilt, and in particular this Enlightened Equipment Enigma sleeping quilt. So I want to cover a few of the features of this quilt. I want to cover a few of the pros as I see them, and a con that has a few appendages to it. So let's get right into the features. Okay, so we'll get into the features here of the Enlightened Equipment Enigma sleeping quilt. The first thing that we'll talk about here is one of the main differences with this quilt versus a few others that the Enlightened Equipment makes, as well as some other manufacturers. This is a closed foot box. So the foot box is completely sewn. Because of that, there's no drawstring down there. There's also no zippers on this quilt whatsoever. So you've got a foot box that's completely sewn in and covered. The next feature of the quilt that I'll talk about is this U-shaped baffling. So I'll throw some B-roll in here, but as you can see, the baffling is U-shaped, meaning you've got your horizontal baffling down at the foot box, and then it starts to kind of U out with vertical baffling. And the feature, why this is the case, both the horizontal and the foot box and the vertical kind of through the torso and midsection, is to make sure that the down is where it needs to be in order to keep you and I warm as we're sleeping in the backcountry. Next feature, the Enigma quilt comes with two pad straps. There's two pieces on the quilt that you can attach pad straps to, which is great. There is a couple of neck snaps in the back on potentially those colder nights where you can snap the quilt behind you, behind your neck to make sure that you're warm. And then there's a cinch that is on the front of the quilt where you can really cinch that thing in tight around your neck. There's an optional draft collar. I didn't choose to go with the draft collar, so I don't have an opinion on that one. I'm not sure how well it is or how much it works, but for me, the snaps on the back and the cinch around the neck have been good enough for the environments that I have been in. A couple of other key features. This is an American-made product, designed and built and made here in the United States, in the state of Minnesota, from what I understand. And for folks who care about this, and I certainly think there's an importance to it, Enlightened Equipment uses a gray goose down that is ethnically sourced and is RDS, if I'm remembering this correctly, certified. That is a responsible down standard. So essentially they source and get their down in a responsible and certified way. And it's an American company, both started, designed, and these are handcrafted by the Enlightened Equipment team and staff here in the United States. So with the features kind of out of the way, let's move on to the pros of the Enlightened Equipment Enigma quilt. Okay, so three pros as I see it with the quilt here. The first just being, it is a very lightweight quilt. I think for my 20-degree bag, it's around 21 ounces or so. And for the 40-degree bag that I recently purchased, it's sitting around like 13.5 ounces, which is absolutely amazing, especially if you're, on longer trails, if you're doing a lot of miles, a lot of elevation, to have something that can be as quality, can be as effective, and I'll say comfortable, which we'll get to in a minute, for 13.5 ounces, even 20 ounces is absolutely fantastic. The second piece that I'll talk about here is the customizability. Enlightened Equipment does a fantastic job at giving you so many options if that's what you choose. There is material that's either 7, 10, or 20D or denier fabrics, and if you customize, you can make the outside shell a different denier than the inside. There are so many color options out there, again, with different denier fabrics. There are fill power. You can go with an 850 fill power down or a 950 fill power down. And essentially what that's gonna do is you're gonna get the same rating degree, the same warmth rating, but with less total material. They're gonna use a higher, fluffier down feather, essentially, in the 950 versus the 850. You've got all sorts of temperature ratings, anything from 0 degree all the way up to a 50 degree, really summertime quilt. And what am I missing here? Sizing. You can get everything from just a standard size to a long, to a standard and wide, to a long and wide. I think there's even an extra large size on there, and I can throw up their website here to kind of cover that as I've been chatting. So lots of customizable options, which is always fun. Or if you're just looking to get the basic and get it to your, get it in your hands quickly, they have just stuff that they make out of the box that you can just purchase, and it should ship relatively quickly. That isn't as customizable, but will give you options in both. I think right now just the 10 denier fabric, I think their 7 denier is either not available or they don't have it kind of out of the box right now. So that brings us to point number 3. And point number 3 for me really is just the comfortability of the fabric. It's a nylon. Again, there's the 7, 10, or 20 denier fabric strength, if you will, thickness that you can go with depending on kind of what your use case is and maybe how difficult you're going to be treating your quilt. But another part, so it's comfortable, and that's the main point. It is such a comfortable sleeping quilt. It's something that I absolutely have enjoyed every single night that I've used my quilt. I think another important piece, again, this kind of goes back to the responsibility stuff that we mentioned a little bit with their down. This is also, they treat each of their quilts, and let me make sure I've got this right here. It's with a C0 DWR treatment, which essentially means that there is no PFC in what they treat in their materials. And PFC, if you don't know what that is, I'm not an expert in this either. I can link another video down below from My Life Outdoors where he talks quite a bit about what PFC is. But this is essentially a toxin that is found in a lot of Gore-Tex and a lot of DWR materials and treatments. So Enlightened Equipment uses a C0 DWR, which essentially means that there is no PFC in what they produce. So again, the comfortability of the material by far is important, especially in my quest to get the best night's sleep. But also knowing that there is no PFC, there's no toxins, that this is a company who cares about the environment and cares about us as their customers and consumers is really, really important to me as well. So hopefully that is to you, but those are the 3 kind of pros as I see them with the Enigma quilt. Okay, so listen, no piece of equipment is perfect. Everything's got a drawback to it. And that is the same with this quilt. As much as I love it, Enlightened Equipment still, I think, has some work to do. And here, according to Colby, this is how I see, I would say, one major con that has a few little appendages to it. And so let me pull it out here really quick, and we can get some close-up of some of this. In my mind, the biggest con with this quilt is the snap system. I don't know if you can see that, if I'm getting the right focus here. I think I am. But this snap system here is just not good. How it fits in and it snaps right now is good. But this system, it is so easy for that little piece to come undone and for this snap system to come out, especially at night. So the big critique I have is just the snap system. I wish they would use a different type of either pad strap or a different snap. Just redesign that completely, because this is not good in my experience. So the appendages to that are, one, I don't think their pad straps are necessarily designed for a 25-inch wide pad, at least the standard ones that come with the quilt. I use a 25-inch pad. I'm a little broader of shoulder, and for me, I'm a side sleeper, so having a little bit of extra space and cushioning is very helpful. They come with two pad straps. One of them you can just kind of fit over the top of the pad, which is great. It is so convenient. And then the other one is just one that can kind of go underneath and snap on both sides. The strap that you kind of slide over the top of the pad, especially a 25-inch wide pad, has a lot of tension on it. And so as you've tried to kind of put in those two clips to strap it down onto your pad, it can sometimes cause those to kind of undo if you're putting a little bit too much pressure on the snap. And then one other challenge, again, that comes back with the straps that it took me a few nights out on the trail to kind of figure out. So again, take this one for what it's worth. Is this an Enlightened equipment issue, or is this a user error issue? Yeah, it's probably me. I, being the genius that I am, on the first few nights, slid it over my sleeping pad and moved that one down to the second strap connection piece on the quilt, meaning the one that was a little bit further down towards kind of my torso, my butt area. And then I used the one that just went underneath the pad as the top one, up closer to kind of your chest. The problem with that is when you've got to get up, as old man like I do have to get up at nighttime a time or two, and you undo that strap, now it shoots underneath your sleeping pad, and finding it in the middle of the night when you don't want to turn a light on and you just want to go back to sleep is kind of a pain. So pro tip, learn from my mistake. The one that just goes underneath the pad, use that one down at the bottom, and that second one that's a little lower down on your body, and then use the one that you can slide over your sleeping pad as the upper attachment. And that way, when you do need to get up at night to use the facilities and you undo it, it's there. You know exactly where it is because it's been threaded around your pad and it's not gonna move. So again, maybe a little bit of a pro tip. And so all of my con is really just one con, is the strap system that they use. Would love to see that reworked a little bit and a little different. So honestly though, outside of that, I have not found anything else that I could really poke at with this quilt. It is comfortable. I have been absolutely warm, and in some cases a little too warm, hence getting the 40-degree bag on most of my trips. And I get a great night's sleep because this thing is just so dang comfortable. Okay, so let's wrap up this video here. And I'm gonna say this here, I have not used another sleeping quilt out there, so I honestly don't have a lot to compare the Enigma quilt to. I know there's a few others that a lot of people rave about. UGQ Bandit is a big one. I would love to potentially try the Outdoor Vitals quilt. I'm a big fan of the Outdoor Vitals company and what they do, which I think is unique. But I've just been so in love with this, with the Enigma quilt from Enlightened Equipment, that I haven't really ventured out to try anything. So again, I'm not comparing this to anything else necessarily. This has just been my experience with it. Is this the right quilt for you? I don't know, and I probably can't answer that question. But I hope that at least this information has been helpful in terms of the features that we went over, the pros that we discussed in terms of just the lighter weight, the amazing customizable features and options that are out there. And then again, for me, the comfort of this quilt. And then the con, again, for me, it's just the pad straps. I've learned to deal with it, and it's not so big of a hurdle that I would choose to go with something else. Again, I've got 3 of these, and I trust this quilt, and I really enjoy it. So that's my review. Enlightened Equipment Enigma quilt. 2 thumbs up in my book. I will continue to purchase from them in the future. So if you have found this video helpful, but maybe you're on the fence still between, you know, a quilt, a sleeping bag, Colby, like, great, you're talking about this, but I still don't know if a quilt's really the way I want to go, I would suggest that you look at this video where I talk about how superior a sleeping quilt is to a sleeping bag. And with that, we'll see you next time. Thanks for being here. Peace.